All right, and we are back with trial number 1 of round number 3, Instant Dodge versus Dark Owls, here for the final round of the final qualifier of Season 9 of Champions of the Fog. And we got Instant Dodge with the Nurse against Dark Owls Survivor Team here on the Groaning Storehouse. We got Nurse checking the back of the pocket here, trying to see if any survivors are hiding on out. So far, survivors have done a fantastic job of dodging the Nurse as they are slowly but surely waiting out the corrupt intervention. That being said, the add-ons for the Nurse are the Catatonics Boys Treasure as well as the Fragile Wheeze. As far as perks are concerned, we'll have to wait and see just a little bit longer, as we do see the first survivor off in the distance. However, Nurse not looking to go after them, instead finding a survivor here on this generator, but will stop to kick it, as that there is in fact an eruption highlighted gen in yellow. So the next survivor who does go down will see that gen regressing by 10%, in addition to revealing the survivor's aura if they are on the gen for a short while. That being said, Cheryl taking it here, looking like they do have a lucky break in hand, as we do not see any blood or scratch marks. However, I think I saw some feet. I think the Nurse saw it too, and that there will be the Cheryl down, as well as a eruption off in the distance. So really well played there by the Nurse, as she is going to be dragging the survivor further in towards the middle of the map. However, there are 2 survivors here for potential body blocks. Looks like they are not going to block the hook, rather going to complete this gen right underneath the Nurse's nose. So gutsy play there by the survivor, to say the least, but it might just work out for them, as these gens need to be done and be done quickly. Do also want to note that the survivors are now keenly aware of a Rancor in play, as we will be seeing some snapshot auras as these gens do get completed. And looks like we do see, once again, the Nurse on the Cheryl here, as they are going to push them back into this pocket. We hear them on the corner, nursing them too, as we hear the second gen completed. These survivors wasting no time whatsoever. That being said, Nurse going to get the hook here in the pocket, knowing they cannot go all too much further. However, gens in the middle pretty much done and dusted, leaving the pocket here as well as the kind of corridor leading up to it. Nancy, though, making a quick walk away, and this is going to be the 4th and final perk revealed, that there is a Pop Goes the Weasel, which regressed that gen by 30% of its current progression. That being said, Nurse going to be going back to that gen once again, trying to get the Nancy to stay off it. 30 seconds until the survivor on hook is progressed to death, however, leaving these survivors in a 3v1 scenario. We do see scratch marks make their way back into the pocket, though. Nurse, seeing it too, will go back to try and get the redown. Looks like Nancy getting a lot of distance there after that unhook, though. Cheryl, though, still kind of caught off in the middle of nowhere. Nurse just gonna hold off and wait, and taking the hit at the locker, unless there's a decisive strike, that there is gonna be a survivor out of the game. Survivors, though, making quick work of these gens, so we'll have to wait and see if it works out in the Nurse's favor, pulling out the Cheryl here. Nurse trying to make their way back to this gen quickly enough in order to get another pop in play, and sure enough, there it is, going to be quite a meaty pop indeed, as we do see scratch marks making their way over towards this other gen. The snapshot aura revealing the injured Zarina, making their way away from this gen. Nurse not going to waste any time with the gen kick, instead wanting to get this Zarina down as soon as possible. Zarina on edge map, which is a very powerful place for the survivor to be. However, the Nurse with the 1 blink down will get it. And looks like they will end up with a hook here, though, going to drag this arena a bit closer to the gen. Once again, Nurse being very particular about these hooks. Mind you, no Skirt Choke Pain Resonance, just wanting to try and get as much value as possible and playing a very dangerous game, as I imagine that's Zarina mashing their spacebar in order to wiggle off the Nurse's shoulder. That being said, looks like this gen once again to near completion. Pop and Eruption once again applied for 30% regression on that gen. Nurse going back to the unhook, unable to get on top of the hill for line of sight, but finding the Yoon Jin here on the unhook. Looks like Nurse, though, going to be doubling back, trying to find where the Zarina went. We do see them edge map there. Nurse sees them too. Looks like they're going to try and cut them off here before they're able to enter the LT wall. Looks like we are going to reach the LT wall, however. Nurse trying to get a mind game here. We see this arena with the vault, and ooh, that might be something that I haven't seen in a hot minute. That may have been a grab cancel, because we kind of saw the start of that animation begin, but then the Nurse ends up hitting the LT wall. Not sure if that was latency or what, but either way is unfortunate scenario for the Nurse, to say the least, as the arena will extend this chase ever so slightly. Zarina, though, going to be going here at the 3 column. We do see a gen completed, no survivors nearby, so the Nurse can pick up the Zarina without any hesitation. Looks like Nurse going to be bringing them a little bit closer in. The Nancy here for a potential body block. They're playing a dangerous game, to say the least, as Nancy not going to be the target of the Nurse's next blink, instead going to the generator. Nancy acting as a little bit of bait, it would seem, and looks like this will be another Pop or Eruption applied. Do want to note that the Obsession has been sent back to the campfire via the entity, meaning that the Nurse no longer has a potential Mori target at the end of this match. However, if they For the People or Decisive Strike comes into play, that could change. So I'll have to keep an eye on that. That being said, we do see the Yoon Jin taking a hit here, and looks like the Nurse is going to go for a quick blink strike. Just going to fatigue out, though, knowing that this rock is really hard to blink through. Yoon Jin making great usage of the environment to their advantage, and sure enough, Nurse with the overblink. That means the Yoon Jin going to be doubling back here, and looks like the Nurse going to drop chase, as they are concerned about the gen, and for good reason. But if they can get this down, that will be an Eruption, regressing that gen by 10%. They've been distracted, and this might give the survivors just enough time for the 5th gen to be completed, and these exit gates powered, only 20 seconds away from escaping via the exit gates. That being said, though, Yoon Jin once again going to be using the edge map here. That's the weakest spot that the Nurse can be, and we do see the down and the Eruption are reading kind of hard to see. We don't see any survivors, meaning that they're potentially on a different gen. Nurse, feeling that too, is going to make the way over to this pocket gen instead. I don't know if they're close enough to actually get a good read on the gen. There's 2 pockets that is very powerful for these survivors. Nurse realizes that too, and there is the 5th gen completed. Exit gates now powered, 20 seconds away from escaping this realm. And the question now is it going to be a 2K for the Nurse or a 3-man out for these survivors? Nurse just kind of hovering around this hill here, trying to find line of sight on someone. However, this survivor just kind of hanging out here underneath the pallet, not moving whatsoever. You hear the footsteps from the Nancy. They're going to get the stun. The Yoon Jin at a second chance of life here. Nurse with the blink. The blink through the tile, and will get the hit on the Yoon Jin. Fantastic job. Nancy, though, still nearby with the flashlight in hand. Nurse sensing that too, sensing that they might just be able to turn this around for a potential 3K. Nancy, though, seeming to be in the wind, and looking like Nurse is going to have to settle for the hook on the Yoon Jin here. I mean, playing their face in the wall here, making sure there is no flashlight attempt. We do see scratch marks looking like from the Nancy there, who wanted to get that save. Scratch marks going further in. Exit gate now open. Nancy making the mad dash for the escape, but Nurse not going to pursue, at least not right away. Instead, going to take their time to get their second blink. And we see those scratch marks make the way into the exit gate. And this is looking like a 2-man out for Dark Owl's survivor team. So very well played by both sides. That being said, that there is a 2k8 hook for the Nurse, so very well played there. That being said, we are going to be setting up for this next lobby and the final trial of this qualifier and the final qualifier of this season. All right, and we are back once again, this time with Dark Owls piloting the Nurse against Instant Dodge's Survivor team, and Instant Dodge with a little bit of an advantage here, about 3 points wise, and Nurse with a misblink into the basement stairs, but finding scratch marks quite early here. This could be a huge advantage for the Nurse here. That being said, they find a multitude of survivors. I want to say that was the Bill as well as the Tap here. Nurse trying to go for the blink, will get the hit as well around that rock, and we do see Bill here trying to make their way away, and looks like the Nurse will overblink there as Bill does double back, and looks like Nurse is going to pursue further. We see 2 survivors trying to exit that pocket as well, doing so very slowly lest they do find themselves in the crosshairs of the Nurse. Tap though going to go back to this pocket. We've seen this pocket be used at the benefit of the killer and detriment of the survivors time and time again. We'll see if the Atom is able to make their escape here. That being said, Nurse with the blink there at the corner will get the down on the Tap. A very, very quick down there, especially as we've seen almost no survivors on gens thus far. That being said, looks like this is going to be the first hook here for the Nurse as they do get them here next to this gen. As far as win condition is concerned, they are going to need pretty much a 3K. If they get a 3K, they are victorious. That being said, there's a little bit of other seldom win conditions that could come up depending on the hook spread, but pretty much a 3K is the way to go here. We'll see if the Nurse accomplishes this by going for a spread of hooks, or if they're going to tunnel out the Tap, who we have seen unhooked there off in the distance. Nurse, though, not thinking about that. Instead, going to be going back to a different gen, it would seem. Looks like there's a little bit of progress here, though, and we are going to see a Pop Goes the Weasel, as well as the gen highlighted in yellow. Y'all know what that means, that there is a Eruption in play that is going to regress that gen by 10% in instance another survivor is down by any means. That being said, looks like the Nurse is going to be doubling back over towards Bill's gen here. I do want to point out that they do have Dying Light, which we did reveal earlier on. However, the first hook being on Tap means that no stacks of Dying Light were applied, and you really just do not want that Obsession sent out to the campfire all too early, lest Dying Light loses all of its value. That being said, fantastic hit there on Bill. That's going to allow the Nurse to recharge their blink and trying to get a read on where Bill went, and fantastic anticipation of where that is, and we are going to see the first hook here on Bill and first stack of Dying Light in play. That being said, though, no gens completed just yet, though I imagine 1 if not 2 will be completed here in just 1 moment. Let's actually take a look and see as Claudette's hiding out. Adam with about 50% on that gen. Tap, though, about 75% of the way through. And looks like Nurse going to go for a kick of Pop and Eruption there. Want to make sure Eruption is, in fact, applied. That being said, though, Nurse taking a look around, trying to see what survivors they might be able to find. Tap, though, as we said earlier, about to complete their gen. Adam, though, that 7% skill check miss, going to bite them in the butt, to say the least. And we see the Nurse tempted to go and find the Tap there in the pocket, but instead going to be going back towards this choke point here to see if they can interrupt the unhook. However, survivors already on their way. Nurse with the prediction blink. There's the Bill. They're going to hold them hostage here in the pocket of this map. Bill, though, I think doubling back around, using the edge map to their advantage. Bill gonna double back, but not gonna be in time as we see the down and the Eruption proc as well. Question is there a decisive strike for Bill to work with? And sure enough, there it is. Almost instantaneous. However, it is not a lot, though enough to get another gen completed for these survivors. That's now 2 gens completed. We did also see a dead hard there from the Bill, though it was unsuccessful. That being said, Nurse once again with a pop and now our Eruption back in hand. I will note that was not a second stack of Dying Light. As we did mention earlier, because Obsession had changed hands, that does mean only one stack is in play, and that is not a place you want to be for those of you using Dying Light. I believe it's 3% slowdown on healing, on gen progression, totems, etc. for each token. 3% is something, but not all too much. Tap, though, getting found here on the potential Eruption gen. Looks like they will take a hit, being forced to use a second blink, though, as the third gen is completed off in the distance. Nurse, though, satisfied with the hit, is going to make their way back towards the hook. And there is the unhook. Nurse wanting to get the tunnel out there. There's the For the People. Bill sprinting into a hiding spot, but not before the Nurse finding them. And because, once again, the Obsession has been traded off, this does mean that the Bill will grant a stack of Dying Light on their next hook. However, Nurse here, trying to get the down, will successfully do so. This will be another stack of Dying Light. Dying Light will not deactivate for this either. But all of this exchanging of Obsessions has made it really difficult for Nurse to get value here. I imagine Survivor back on this gen, but it has not been completed yet. Nurse still in the game. However, no Eruption applied to this gen and is still on cooldown. Nurse instead gonna be looking around, seeing what other gens currently have progress. No progress here, but Nurse concerned about the gen in the pocket will make their way there, but wasting a lot of time elsewhere is the problem. No cylinders firing off, and ooh, we want to take a note here and mention that this is a bit of a 4-gen. It's a bit loose. However, because the Nurse has the ability to traverse the map without any hesitation and without worry of any of the obstacles, this means that the Nurse can kind of protect this 4-gen without much concern. And sure enough, there's the tap, there's the Atom. Nurse forcing the Atom to move further in towards the corner of the map, but instead going for, there we go, going for the tap as expected here. And Tap trying to make use of this corner here, and Nurse whiffing, hitting the wall instead. We do see the heal on the Claudette, meaning that these survivors are currently off of gens. The question is where this Tap went. Holding corner well. Nurse with the overblink, just barely missing the Tap once again. The Tap doing the entity's work here as they are buying their Survivor team as much time as possible. Tap, though, sensing that their luck had run out, trying to make their way over to another tile instead. Nurse waiting for their blinks to come back before going for the potential lethal blink. But gonna hold out here, not wanting to overblink once again. Tap, though, doing a fantastic job jumping into a locker. There's only one fatigue, though, so this will be the grab. A little bit of a broken animation there, though, at least from the spectator side. And looks like this will buy the survivors enough time to complete another gen, I would imagine. No, only 50% in, and looks like 2 gens 50% in. If the Nurse is able to get them in time, we could see a Pop Goes the Weasel as well as Eruption applied. However, Nurse wanting to get the hit here on the Atom before they do that. Gonna be a dangerous play. There's the Firecracker. There's the blind on the Nurse. Nurse not even trying to avoid it. Atom with the double back. Pop Goes Weasel about 50% before its progression or timer does end. That being said, though, Atom in a dire spot. I think the Nurse can actually get the kick here. Yeah, sure enough, there it is. There's the kick. Atom kind of still stuck here at the L wall, though no scratch marks or blood to be seen. This could be a lucky break. Sure enough, I think it was. Atom getting away from the LT wall. And wow, that was quite the unexpected turnaround there, as we do see another 40 people from the Claudette healing the Tap off the hook. However, that will be another Eruption applied and a 2.5% regression, followed by 0.3% regression thereafter per second. That being said, looks like Nurse is going to take a look around, trying to find where this Atom may have gone. And looks like the Nurse has found them, sensing they're here in this corner, trying to smoke them out. But the tree and the rock proving just a little bit too powerful there, as Nurse does miss their blink strike. A little bit of double back there from the Atom, trying to use their corners to their advantage. However, there's the down and the double Eruption, 20% across 2 generators. Very well played there by the Atom, buying their team a little bit of time. Nurse going to go for the hook here in the pocket. The question is, will that 10% be enough? Looks like Claudette going to be off the gen and tap back on it, but that's going to be a number of Dying Light stacks, about 4 stacks of. And I want to say this is a bit of a spectator bug, maybe? I'd imagine. Yep, there she is. She just had to do a little bit of loading there, you know, dial up just ringing in the background, but there's going to be the unhook on the Atom, and Nurse trying to predict where these fires are moving. There's the Atom. Actually, no, there's the Claudette on the edge of the map. That is exactly what the Nurse wanted to find. There's the down, and once again, another eruption, regressing that gen by 10%. We do see the aura on the gen. Atom, though, trying to get to this corner. Once again, the win condition is a 3K, and Nurse is primed and ready to get it. However, they're going to drop the chase instead, going to be trying to go for the gen. No, doubling back instead. Going to go for the pickup on the Claudette, wanting to pop in hand, just wanted to see what the progression was on that gen before committing to the hook. And sure enough, here comes the hook. Here comes another eruption as well as a pop in play. However, no stacks of Dying Light, mind you, as Claudette is the obsession from the For the People earlier in this trial. That being said, though, gen is only 50% of the way completed, but not going to be for long, as we do see that pop and eruption. Atom, though, the only other one who can go for this unhook, still injured. I mean, Lexi's Fire is going to be in a bit of a dire situation, as we do see the Atom over by the shack. Another kick of the gen here, and things are looking grim for these survivors. Let's take a look at the scorecard real quick and see if the win condition has been met. Actually, right now it's 17 points in favor of the Nurse. It's currently tied. If the survivors were to escape right now after completing 2 gens, it would be a tie set. However, I'm thinking that is less than likely here, as the Nurse has eyes for the tap here. Though once again, gonna be breaking chase instead, going back for the unhook, it would seem, or at least trying to cut these fires off, as we do see Scratchmarks making way over towards the shack. And looks like this is the Atom here, trying to make the way over into the pocket. We have not seen a lot of success from survivors working their way back here, but let's see if the Atom has a better shot. And looks like that there will be a stun in favor of the survivor. However, Nurse gonna be rallying back very quickly. Atom cross in front of the Nurse and trying to see where the Atom's going before blinking. Sensing that the Atom's going further in towards Shack. There's the fatigue out. Atom gonna be at the corner though. Nurse with both blinks, and there's the M1 down and eruption to boot. And with this hook, I do believe that will secure Dark Owl's victory against Instant Dodge in round number 3. So GG, well played to both teams. And at this point in time, survivors playing for the glory and honor of their team. But very well played by both sides, as the 4th generator has been completed. Nurse now with a bit of a iffy 3 gen here. Ever pop and eruption once again going to be applied. 5 stacks of Dying Light in play, slowing things down by 15%. Things going to be very difficult for these survivors. The only one able to do gens at a decent pace here going to be the Claudette. That being said, she is found out here on the corner of the map. However, looks like Scratchmarks making the way over towards the unhook. Nurse wanting to intercept the tap if at all possible. Looks like Scratchmarks making their way. There's the hook changing position. There's the BT hit on the Atom. And looks like Nurse going to go for the tunnel here to secure the 3K and the win. Decisive Strike already out of this match, I do believe. And so that there will secure victory on top of the points that we've already calculated here for Dark Owls. I'll be honest, early in the match, things were looking a bit grim for Dark Owls. The survivors were doing a fantastic job managing these chases for the Nurse. However, Rats from Dark Owls rallying back and able to secure that 4 gen. And I think that there alone really did secure victory here, as survivors just unable to break into that 4 gen fast enough in order to complete the last 2 gens and power these exegates. That being said, Nurse taking a look around for the last 2 survivors here. And looks like they will not find them. Instead, going to have to make their way back over towards the generators, making sure that they do not get completed. There is a bit of progress here, though. It looks like Nurse will not go for the kick for either Pop or Eruption. Instead, going to go for the Claudette here. Bit of a double back. However, Nurse, sensing that double back, will get the hit there. Waiting for their blinks to come back as Claudette does make their way toward the edge map. As per usual, that is the most powerful place for survivors to be. However, Nurse able to get the one blink and secure the hook here. Unless the tap is about to complete this gen, I do believe this is going to secure the 4K. And yeah, only about 30% into that generator. That is looking to be the 4K here for the Nurse, lest these survivors are able to escape via the hatch or the exit gate potentially. We'll have to wait and see as Nurse looking around once again, trying to see what gen the tap may have been on. And looks like they did find them. Nurse, I think, didn't see him right away, but then saw exactly what I saw too, which was the feet just poking on the other side of that rock. And Nurse here trying to see where the Atom may have gone, potentially losing them here as we do see the Claudette sent back to the campfire via the entity, meaning that the hatch has been opened. We'll have to wait and see if the tap does have a adrenaline in hand, and sure enough, there it is, once again put back into the healthy state. This could potentially mean that the survivor could escape for what it's worth, but nope, Nurse gonna find them here on the exit gate. Tap not even going to attempt to leave as they are grabbed off the exit gate handle, and that there will secure the 4K for Dark Owls. So GG, well played to both teams, and once again, congratulations to Dark Owls for their victory in round number 3 of the final qualifiers for Season 9 of Champs of the Fog. And they will be extended an invite to Season 9.